I always like to get people an opportunity to say where they come from, because a lot of younger people watch the show. So just give us a rundown on your career in 150 words.
Sure. Paul, I started in public relations, probably in about the mid-1980s, with a consultancy at the time called Errol Fife, which Errol Fife was one of the larger public relations consultancies in South Africa, and he was seen as one of the doyens of public relations.
Right.
Of course, investor relations, which was always my passion, really only started in about the early to mid 1990s, when the country opened up to real investment. And I was with Anglo at the time, and was with the first South African roadshow, investor roadshow that is, onto international, the UK and North America. Anglo presented what was then a microcosm, I guess, of South African business.
Yeah, big sort of diversified industrial mining conglomerate.
Industrials on the one side, mining on the other side. You had brands like Grinnica, famous brands, which was Wimpy, Juicy Lucy, Cerebral Salt. You had a steel business in Trident Steel. You had a cement business in Alpha Cement of the day. And on the other side, of course, you had gold mining, you had copper mining, you had nickel mining, you had all sorts of mining. Yeah.
Okay, so then you stayed in the corporate space doing that, and then how long is it that you've now been in your own business, Aprio?
It's been just over 2 years now. Aprio is an investor relations and public relations company. I came back shortly after Anglo transformed itself into African Rainbow Minerals, Anglo Mining that was. I went off to Toronto, got a really, really good insight into investor relations with the Canadian market, and specifically junior mining stocks. And then came back into South Africa and started, saw that the opportunity was right to start my own company, which is labeled Aprio.
Okay, so let's go back to first principles, because a lot of people watch these shows and wonder to themselves, A, why share prices change so much so often, and then why companies that appear to be on the surface quite similar have different share prices. So from your perspective, why should companies engage in improving their investor relations, and what's the benefit for the company itself?
Look, I think in terms, and you all know this very well, but when an investor looks at a particular stock and is making the decision, I always look at it on a radar screen, and you're either on that radar or you're not on that radar. Investor relations, communications, exposure in the media can help you get onto to the fund managers or the investors' radar. And that is done by effective communication, by clarity of communication. When you come to make an investment decision, you probably look at the quality of the asset first and foremost, and whether that's a sector you effectively want to be in. And then secondly, in terms of the management, who's going to deliver the return on that asset. I know there's many other aspects to making an investment decision, but it's those two are two of the most critical. And just to get those two known to the investment community, first of all the asset, and then the management introduced to the investment community through various platforms and vehicles, is how investor relations can assist a company.
Okay, and what are those platforms? So in other words, you know, they're the 6 monthly or sometimes quarterly results, but are you implying that there's a whole bigger strategic thing that's going on, particularly to portray the company and its executives in the most possible positive light?
Yeah, very much so. Specifically over the last couple of years, with the emergence of social media. Let's take CNBC for example. CNBC isn't just looking at a text; they convert that into some kind of video. They convert it into an audio. They convert it into the anchor and the reporter, or the company itself might be sending that out as a tweet or have its own Facebook page and uploading company information. So this is what we call content fusion, where it really is changing quite rapidly.
And as you say, the brand is kind of out there and in possession of everybody. It's not all that controlled anymore. Very,
very much so. And I think where companies are going to start moving towards in the future is actually providing this fusion of content, this different content, specifically when our broadband is suitable to that. Is public relations, investor relations companies are going to be providing not just a text or a press release, but it's going to be a video clip, and it's going to be an image of some kind, electronic image of some kind, and it's going to be an audio clip where this gets out. And I think the other second very, very interesting aspect that's happening in our industry is that the companies are becoming sort of much more aware of what could be news, research and development, the people in the companies and using these. And I'm not saying these are just content for exposure's sake. These are real stories and are of real benefit to specifically the investment community and all other stakeholders to ensure that they get a good feel and a good sense of the company.
And as you say, far cry from, as short ago as sort of 10 or 15 years where the only way of getting any of that was to send a letter to the company secretary to ask to be put on the distribution list for the very badly produced annual report. Okay, just shifting gears for a bit. I mean, we know that companies have sort of steady state operations, but then there are also transactions, disasters, kind of event-related industrial relations. Just give us a sense of how all that works.
Well, very much so. I mean, disasters, crisis communication has become a critical part of the communication process around the world, and it is taking, it's getting a lot of traction in South Africa. Strangely enough, where I've learned my trade is through the mining industry, and the mining industry sadly has had a reputation for being accident-prone. And so was always very well prepared for all sorts of crises that may occur. But many other companies, Eskom, blackouts, SAA, or airlines that could potentially face any kind of crisis, or even a food scare in a supermarket or something. Crisis preparedness has become quite a big issue. And that's what, as Aprio, we do focus on that.
And the deal stuff, one company merging with another, market thinks it's a bad idea, turn that around, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to the transparency and openness of communication. By and large, in most cases, the deal is done because there is benefit for different, for both sets of investors or stakeholders. So you've got to extract those out, and messaging is absolutely critical. Ensuring that message comes across, using the right platform as well, or the right vehicle to get that message out across to a well-defined target audience. And how do you define that target audience? Is through listening right up front. That's the critical part, right up front in terms of a transaction. Who is the audience here? Who's going to benefit? Why is this transaction being done? And how we should be packaging this message. You do that by perception audits, you do it by a lot of information that's probably within the company already. It's just a matter of extracting it out and putting it on a platform to communicate.
Fantastic. One final question for young people interested in this area as a potential career choice. Does it look as though the future of the industry is in the kind of smaller consultancies on an outsourced basis servicing the bigger companies, or is the opportunity inside the companies themselves?
That depends on the individual. There's two, internally within the company itself, is very, very effective, and that's where you get to know the company best. That's where you live and breathe the company each and every single day. You get to know the management, you get to know the assets better, and that's your effective selling point. As a consultancy, you're playing a support role. Depends on the company. Larger corporations obviously have the resources to keep experienced people internally with the company. There's many mid-cap to small-cap companies that prefer to use consultancies, and so it really just depends on which area you want to play. In terms of the consultancies, it's different every single day. Today I'm working on this on retail. Tomorrow I'm working on mining. The day after that I'm working on financial services. I've got a private equity company that I work for in Cape Town and do a lot of work for, and it's just phenomenal, the kinds of projects. I mean, they're building 40 different companies at the moment. It's just very different in terms of being in one company.